Welcome to the top 20 MLB draft steals of all time. This is part 2 of a multiple video series. If you missed part 1, feel free to check it out before or after this video. I will put a link above and in the description down below. In today's video, we will count down the top 10 MLB draft steals of all time. And to make the top 10, these steals all occurred in the 10th round or later. Many of these players are in the Hall of Fame, and the majority of those who are not will be someday. Here we go, starting at number 10. Andre Dawson, round 11, overall 250th. Just cracking the top 10 is a Hall of Famer who scouts had absolutely no interest in during his high school days. He went on to take out some student loans so he could go to college, attending Florida A&M University. Dawson tried out for the baseball team and made it, eventually becoming a regular who showed definite talent. It was enough talent that the Montreal Expos took notice and drafted Dawson in the 11th round. He took the minor leagues by storm with a .330 batting average and 13 home runs in 72 games in rookie ball. He was sent to Double-A the next year and crushed everything. So then, he was moved up to Triple-A. He tore up that league as well. He hit .352 with 28 home runs in 1976. The Expos had a winning lotto ticket, and they knew how to cash it in. From 1977 onward, Dawson would be a regular in the Expos lineup. He hit .282 with 19 home runs and won the Rookie of the Year award. He started making all-star teams, winning Gold Gloves, and becoming an absolute superstar. He eventually signed with the Cubs to get away from the artificial turf in Montreal and hit 49 home runs in 1987, winning the MVP. He also played for the Red Sox and Marlins and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2010, wearing a Montreal Expos cap on the plaque. He was also the very first Marlins player to ever be elected to the Hall of Fame. It's a good thing Dawson decided to go to college and walk on to the Florida A&M baseball squad. Number 9, Jeff Kent, round 20, overall 523rd. The next draft steal is Jeff Kent, who was taken in the 20th round of the 1989 MLB draft. Kent was a college player at UC Berkeley who had a great year in 1987 with a .349 average, but had a huge decline the following year, hitting just .193 in 1988 with 4 home runs. He only had 8 college career home runs, which did not spark much interest in him as a power hitter, but there was enough there that the Blue Jays took a waiver on him in the 20th round. He ended up being a decent minor league hitter, moving up slowly through the system and making his big league debut in 1992. With a reputation as a decent hitting infielder with maybe a little pop, the Jays traded him to the Mets for David Cone. His power started really coming around in 1993 when he hit 21 home runs. He proved that he was a real big leaguer in New York, and later he was traded to the Indians. However, it was in San Francisco where his career really took off. And I know this from experience, Giants fans were not happy with the trade that brought Jeff Kent to the Bay Area, as it resulted in the loss of Matt Williams. However, we got over it quickly, as Kent hit 29 home runs in 1997 and then 31 in 1998, finishing in the top 10 for MVP both years. In 2000, he was so phenomenal that he beat out Barry Bonds for the MVP by hitting 33 bombs while batting .334. Kent went on to hit more home runs than any second baseman in the history of the game. He should have a plaque in Cooperstown, but as of now, it hasn't happened. Jeff Kent, as a 20th round and 523rd overall pick, comes in at number 9 on my list of the top MLB draft steals of all time. Number 8, Andy Pettitte, round 22, overall 577. Coming in at number 8 is Andy Pettitte, who was taken in the 22nd round. His fastball clocked in at about 85 miles per hour in high school, and he wasn't expected to do much. But teams do have to fill their minor league rosters, so the Yankees took him right after the Dodgers snagged Mike Roccobaldo. Pettitte's fastball must have hit puberty right before his pro career began, as he struck out 83 batters in 69 innings in his first minor league season. He continued to dominate the next year with a 2.2 ERA in A-ball. The Yankees moved him through their system slowly, noticing that he continued to dominate at each level. In 1995, after allowing 0 runs in 2 AAA starts, they brought him up and put him in the rotation. He went 12-9 and finished 3rd for the Rookie of the Year. The next year, he broke through completely with a 21-8 record, finishing 2nd in the Cy Young voting. He would be a mainstay in the Yankees rotation through 2003, when he went to Houston for 3 years, then came back to the Yankees, where he helped them win it all in 2009. Pettitte retired with a 19-11 postseason record and a 256 and 153 regular season record. He's a borderline Hall of Fame case, but considering he was picked 577th in the draft and played nearly his entire career with the Bronx Bombers, Andy Pettitte is a huge draft steal. Number 7, Don Mattingly, round 19, overall 493rd. Amazingly, Andy Pettitte isn't even the Yankees' biggest steal on this list. Next up is a 19th round pick named Don Mattingly. However, unlike many on this list, Mattingly was a big name in high school. He had many MLB teams interested in his services. He hit .463 and set multiple high school records that stand to this day. The only reason he fell all the way to the 19th round is that he accepted a scholarship to play college ball at Indiana State. His father told MLB teams to not bother drafting him because he was going to honor his commitment. The Yankees were smart to try anyway, and they did so with the 493rd pick. Mattingly wanted to play pro ball right away, and despite his father's wishes, signed with the Yankees. He was actually disappointed with his minor league performance in his first year, which resulted in a .349 batting average and .932 OPS. He was a star in the making and eventually became one of the premier players in Major League Baseball, dominating the mid to late 80s. Even his power showed up in a big way when he crushed 35 bombs in 1985. Mattingly made 6 straight All-Star teams, won an MVP, and played flawless defense at first, winning 9 Gold Gloves. Injuries slowed him down and he eventually had to retire, but Donnie Baseball absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame. The Yankees had a massive steal by taking a gamble that he would sign by drafting him in the 19th round way back in 1979. Number 6, Ryne Sandberg. Round 20, overall, 511th. Coming in at number 6 in my top 20 MLB draft steals of all time is Hall of Famer Ryne Sandberg. Like Mattingly, he wasn't a nobody in high school. In fact, he was a 3-sport star and so good at football that several Division I colleges tried to recruit him. Sandberg eventually signed a letter of intent to play quarterback at Washington State University, which explains why he didn't go higher in the draft. Nevertheless, the Phillies took a shot at him in the 20th round as the 511th overall selection. To their delight, Sandberg decided to forego college football and signed to play pro baseball in the Phillies organization. Only one of the other 22 players drafted in the 20th round that year ever played Major League Baseball, and his name was Pat Rooney, and he went 0-for-5 with 3 strikeouts in his big league career. Sandberg hit .311 in his first year at rookie ball, then moved through the minors at an appropriate pace, playing each level for 1 year. In 1981 in AAA with the Oklahoma City 89ers, he hit .293, but hit just 9 home runs. He was never much of a power hitter in the minors. The Phillies brought him up to make his big league debut. He went 1-for-6 with the Phillies. Later that offseason, Cubs GM Dallas Green had his eye on Sandberg and convinced the Phillies to include him in a trade that primarily involved Larry Bowa for Ivan De Jesus. Sandberg, who was obviously a nice player in the minors but never showed insane potential, was just an extra chip in the trade. He went on to have a Hall of Fame career, winning the MVP in 1984, making 10 All-Star teams and winning 9 Gold Gloves. In 1984, he also played in what became known as the Sandberg Game, a nationally televised game in which Sandberg hit 2 dramatic late-game home runs.
He hits it to deep left center. Look out! Do you believe it? It's gone!
Putting himself on the map as a genuine MLB star. The Phillies never benefited from their amazing draft pick, but they took a Hall of Famer in the 20th round. Number 5, Keith Hernandez, round 41 overall, 785th. At number 5, we have a player who I believe should be in the Hall of Fame, and he was taken in the 41st round. His name is Keith Hernandez. He was not heavily recruited in high school after he sat out his entire senior year due to behavioral issues and arguments with his coach. He ended up attending a local community college and was surprisingly drafted, albeit very late, The St. Louis Cardinals took Hernandez as the 785th overall pick, and he was the only player in the 41st round to make the major leagues. And he was also the lowest pick in the entire 1971 draft to make it to the big leagues. He hit just well enough in the minors to stick around for a couple years until 1974, when in AAA he had a breakout year. Hernandez hit .351 with 14 home runs for the Tulsa Oilers, forcing the Cardinals to bring him up. In 14 games at the big league level, he hit .294 with a .415 on-base percentage. They put him in AAA the next year, but he just continued to tear up minor league pitching, and the Cardinals had to put him in the lineup as an everyday player, and he did not disappoint. In 1978, he won his first Gold Glove, and in 1979, he won the MVP, hitting a league-leading .344 with 48 doubles. He helped his team win the World Series in 1982 and won Gold Glove after Gold Glove, while hitting like an absolute machine. Eventually, due to arguments with Cardinals management, he was traded to the Mets, where he continuously hit well over .300 while playing flawless defense. He also helped them win a championship in the famous 1986 season. All told, Hernandez won 11 Gold Gloves, an MVP, 2 World Series, and 426 doubles. His absence from the Hall of Fame is, in my opinion, an absolute travesty. He did it all as a 41st round draft pick. Number 4, John Smoltz, round 22 overall, 574th. He was the last pick in the 22nd round of the 1985 draft, and the only pick of the round to do anything significant in the big leagues. His name, John Smoltz. The team that gets credit for the pick is the Tigers, the team that Smoltz rooted for as a kid from Detroit. Smoltz was an all-state player in high school, but apparently not good enough for most MLB teams. With the Tigers organization in A-ball, he showed some talent, but nothing special, going 7-8 with a 3.56 ERA. The next year between Double and AAA, he went 4-11 with a 5.73 ERA. His strikeout stuff was nothing spectacular, and the Tigers, who needed immediate starting pitching help, shipped him to Atlanta for Doyle Alexander. If you asked me at the time, I probably would have said that the Tigers won that deal, picking up a veteran starter to help them while the Braves got this terrible minor leaguer who will probably wash out of pro ball within a year. I would have been wrong. Credit goes to the Braves scout John Hageman, who convinced the Braves to trade for Smoltz and told Bobby Cox that John Smoltz had the best right-handed arm he had ever seen. Smoltz went 10-5 for the Richmond Braves in AAA with a 2.79 ERA and was promoted to the big leagues. The next year he was an all-star, going 12-11 with a 2.94 ERA. He went on to show the world what he could do, standing toe-to-toe with his childhood hero Jack Morris in the 1991 World Series. In 1996, he won the Cy Young after going 24-8. Later, he even became an elite closer, saving 55 games for the Braves in 2002. The 8-time All-Star was elected to the Hall of Fame on his first ballot in 2015 as a round 22 pick. Number 3, Albert Pujols, round 13 overall, 402nd. Coming in at number 3 is the recently retired, future Hall of Famer Albert Pujols. Pujols was born in the Dominican Republic and moved to the U.S. in 1996. He was a strong player in high school but went undrafted. He attended Maple Woods Community College in Missouri and hit .461 with 22 home runs as a freshman. Teams still hesitated to draft him because they weren't sure about his real age or ideal position, but it was the St. Louis Cardinals who decided to take a shot at Pujols, but not until the 13th round and 402nd pick. 400 times, teams passed on Albert Pujols. The Cardinals themselves were slow to take him, and their picks from the 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th rounds never made it to the big leagues. But at least they finally made the move, and it paid off almost immediately. Pujols blasted through all levels of the minor leagues in 1 year and made the opening day MLB roster in 2001. He was an instant star, hitting 37 home runs with 130 RBIs, taking home the Rookie of the Year award and a Silver Slugger. He made the All-Star team in his first big league season. From there, he became one of the best sluggers in the game, routinely topping 40 home runs and leading the league in multiple offensive categories. Pujols helped the Cardinals win 2 World Series before signing with the Angels, where he started to decline a bit but continued to display amazing power including 40 bombs in 2015. He also played for the Dodgers in 2021 before returning to the Cards for one last year in 22 when he hit .270 with 24 home runs, topping 700 career bombs and cementing himself as one of the greatest players of all time. The Cardinals not only had an amazing steal in the 13th round, but they took full advantage of it, and Albert Pujols will undoubtedly wear a Cardinals hat on his plaque in the Hall of Fame. Number 2, Nolan Ryan. Round 12 overall, 226th. Coming in at number 2 is the second biggest steal of all time on my list, and it's the Ryan Express. Nolan Ryan. He was a feared arm in high school. He went 19-3, including one 7-inning game where every out was recorded via the strikeout. Hitters would refuse to bat against him for fear of being struck by an awesome fastball that was likely already in the mid to high 90s. And New York Mets scouts saw him pitch and told the Mets that this kid had the best arm that he'd seen in his entire life. Still, for whatever reason, teams didn't draft him, and even the Mets avoided him all the way up until the final pick of the 12th round. Ryan was taken as the 226th overall pick, and of the 20 players picked in the 12th round, he was the only one to make the big leagues. In 1966, he went 17-4 with a 2.36 ERA between single and double A, but the stat that was most impressive was 307 strikeouts in 202 innings. At this time, this kind of strikeout rate was unheard of. Ryan was promoted and had mixed success in the big leagues, although he showed signs of greatness, such as tying a Mets record with 15 strikeouts in one game. After he was shipped off to the Angels in 1971, Ryan's career really took off as he started winning around 20 games per season with ridiculous strikeout rates. He started throwing no-hitters, making all-star teams, and became an absolute superstar. Later, he also pitched for the Astros and Rangers. He ended up with a major league record, 5,714 strikeouts and 7 no-hitters. Nolan Ryan is an absolute legend and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 1999, receiving over 98% of the vote. What an amazing steal by the New York Mets as the 226th overall pick. Number 1, Mike Piazza. Round 62 overall, 1,390th. My number 1 draft steal of all time has to go to the lowest pick in the entire video series, 1,390th. He was taken in the 62nd round. No one else in the 62nd round, nor the 61st for that matter, ever touched the big leagues. Piazza was a community college player who had some connections with his father, who knew Tommy Lasorda. His father asked Tommy as a favor if he could get the Dodgers to draft Piazza. They did so in the 62nd round, and Lasorda asked Piazza to switch positions from first base to catcher to help him have a better chance to maybe reach the majors someday. In his first year in low A, he hit .268 with 8 home runs, good enough to stick around for another year. In high A, he hit .250 with 6 home runs, not bad, and the Dodgers decided to give him another year in high A to see what he could do in 1991, when, with the Bakersfield Dodgers, he broke through. Piazza opened eyes with 29 home runs and a .277 average. The next year, between Double and Triple A, he kept raking, and the Dodgers promoted him. In 1993, Piazza won the Rookie of the Year award and crushed 35 home runs with a .318 batting average. The Dodgers had a bona fide superstar on their hands. He made 10 consecutive All-Star teams and became the best hitting catcher in baseball. In 1998, he was traded to the Marlins, who quickly sent him to the Mets, where he had one of the most memorable home runs in recent history, with a game-winning bomb in the first MLB game played after 9/11. He later played for the Padres and A's and was elected to the Hall of Fame in 2016. Piazza gets number 1 on this not necessarily because he was the greatest player, but because he was a Hall of Famer who was taken lower than anyone else on the list, 1,390th, and even then because of a favor. And that does it for my top 20 draft steals of all time, an absolutely amazing and fascinating list, and one of the biggest reasons why I am always excited for the MLB draft regardless of how low my favorite team may be picking. You never know where you'll find an impact player, and you never know who will become an absolute superstar and maybe even a Hall of Famer. Have a wonderful day, ladies and gentlemen, and make sure to comment below any other great players who were picked very low in the draft who I may have missed. Have a wonderful day and look forward to a follow-up, part 3 of this series, the top 10 draft steals for active players. We will talk to you next time.